Bienvenidos a Tres Respuestas, un espacio de conversación, de discusión y de propuestas. Nuestro invitado de hoy es un gran músico, filántropo, empresario, una persona que ha transformado a través de su música muchísimas fusiones de elementos musicales. Ha grabado con muchos de los grandes artistas del mundo, ha producido canciones tan importantes como I Need a Dollar, The Man, Wake Me Up y muchísimas otras. Y estamos hablando de Aloe Blacc. Aloe, it's such a pleasure to have you in this podcast. And once again, we're looking forward to have you pretty soon in Colombia.
Thank you so much. Nice to be here.
Well, you're a musician, you're a philanthropist, you're an entrepreneur, and your lyrics talk a lot about social justice, about people resilience. But let me begin with Aloe Blacc, the musician and that kid who wanted to embrace music as a career. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your early childhood, Aloe, and something that is very important, your Latin American connection with
Absolutely.
your family?
Yeah, I grew up in Southern California. My parents are from Panama. They came to the United States in the late 70s looking for more opportunities. They were very, very interested in improving the possibilities of their children going to college and getting great jobs. They were very strict about education. And so my sisters, I have two sisters, we did really well in grade school. We all went to college and we all went on to jobs in the marketplace. I was in business consulting for a couple of years out of university. And my music had always been part of my life, you know, from very young age, writing lyrics, very young age, recording songs, and then very young age performing. But it was always just a hobby because for parents who sacrifice so much to come to a new country, the idea of music as a career was not possible. But because I had spent so much time developing my skill as a musician, as an artist, writing songs, that hobby gave me enough experience so that when I did start music full time, I was off and running. And the only reason that happened is because the consulting firm had a reduction of force and I got laid off.
Okay, so it's a particular circumstance that triggered a new part in life. So
Yeah,
so
you
you
can
had
call
to,
it
so you
a
had
happy.
to you had to assume that. And how was that process of changing from the corporate life to the moment where you say, you know what, I love music. This is something that is in my heart. Is my passion. How was that first experience?
So the first experience of changing from the corporate life to music, it was a bit daunting. There was a little bit of fear because I thought, well, if I don't make enough money, I'm going to have to go back and get another job. But what was really promising was that artists from around the world would reach out to me asking for collaborations from Japan and from Europe and from Australia. And these collaborations really encouraged me to keep going with music. And to the point where I got signed or invited to join a record label in Los Angeles, an independent record label. And that was really the beginning of my music career.
Many artists have that remembering or memory of the first time that they heard their music in the radio. So why don't we talk about that first hit, Aloe? How was that first hit that you said, wow, I made this song, I wrote these lyrics, it became a hit, and now I'm driving or enter a bar and I hear my music. Why don't we have why don't you share with us which was that first hit? How did you feel? And how did that first hit became a trigger of a self-convincing decision that you wanted to keep on doing big in music?
What's been special for me is that my first hits, before they were on the radio, they were on television. They were synchronized for TV shows or TV commercials. And so I Need a Dollar was synchronized as the theme song to a TV show called How to Make It in America. And so when that show came out, it became very popular, and even more popular than the show was my song. So when people heard the beginning of the song and I'm singing, I need a dollar, 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 that's what I need. And if I share with you my story, won't you share your dollar with me? They thought it was a song from 1970 that they missed. Who is this artist? We need to find this artist. So they started searching the internet to look it up. And of course, it wasn't an old, antiquated legacy artist. It was a new soul artist that was borrowing from the old sound. And that was big for me. That TV show went around the world, and Europeans really fell in love with it. They fell in love with the song, and they started playing my song on the radio. So then the first time I heard it on the radio was actually on major radio, was in France, where they started playing the song on major radio, which was huge for me, because then Germany started playing, then England started playing, and then Australia, and then it just went around the world, and it came back to the US for the big opportunities. And then the second song was The Man. The second song that went massive on television was a TV commercial. Beats by Dre was a company started by Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine. Jimmy Iovine owns Interscope Records, or started Interscope Records, and that is the label that signed me into the major music industry. And Jimmy Iovine called me and said, I want to use your song in the TV commercial. So in the TV commercial, you see Colin Kaepernick, Kevin Garnett, and these huge athletes, and they put their headphones on and hear my voice says, you can tell everybody, oh, you can tell everybody, I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man. And so that went really huge, and the radio started playing it, and oh man, it was such a big moment for me. It really solidified so much about what I wanted to do in this career, and it gave me visibility bigger than I ever thought.
Well, those are tremendous songs, although I have to say that I not only have them in my favorite list, but I believe they're songs that when you listen to them in a special moments, they can boost your the way you feel, but also your reflections. And that's where my next question is gonna lead to. Many of your lyrics talk about self-confidence, passing through difficult circumstances, and resilience. So how is Aloe Black's creative process, and why there's such a big connection in these messages in your lyrics?
When I signed a recording contract with a major label, and I knew that this company was going to be spending millions of dollars, I wanted to be sure that the message that I deliver is a message that is going to be positive, helpful, inspiring, and motivating, because there's so much media, television, news, music, video games that preys on our fear, anxiety, and depressive modes. And I think that in order to make society better, to make the world better, and to uplift humanity, we have to be feeding people gourmet food, which is to say healthy food for consumption. And I believe everything you consume, from air to water to music to internet and film, is all part of the pyramid of health that you need to look at. And I want to be part of offering those nutritious messages that can help motivate people, inspire them, and keep them mentally, emotionally, psychologically healthy.
Well, you know, that's what an answer. And based on that idea of healthy music in terms of being an emotional booster, a way of reflection, I definitely have to ask about maybe one of your hits and one of also my favorite songs, which is Wake Me Up. But I can't ask about Wake Me Up if I don't ask about Avicii and how was
Mhm.
your creative process with him. I think he's one of the most talented musicians that we have seen. It was very sad to see his early departure from life, but also the fact that his music still is around and people continuously use him as a reference model in the way music is produced. Why don't we talk about Wake Me Up and how was that relationship with him? And what does Wake Me Up means for you? And just to give you an idea, it's one of the songs that I definitely love to wake up and listen to it because it gives you a real emotional boost.
Yeah, Wake Me Up was a very important song in my career. Meeting Avicii was a pivotal point in my career as well. He was looking for an artist who would offer a little bit of soul to the music he was making. He had heard I Need a Dollar, and he wanted to create music that could have that essence. We recorded a few songs together, but it was this moment where I was going to finish one of the songs with him, but he was in the studio with Mike Einziger from Incubus, and um, we all decided we should just work together on something new. I brought these lyrics to the room, and Mike was playing on the guitar, the very famous guitar melody that you hear from Wake Me Up. And I just started with these lyrics, you know, so wake me up when it's all over, when I'm wiser and I'm older. All this time I was finding myself and I didn't know I was lost. And I said, guys, what do you think of these lyrics? And they said, this is perfect. Let's record it. So we recorded. And you know, Avicii rest in peace, was a very, very skilled musician, although we don't recognize a lot of dance DJs as musicians. He was a musician because of how he approached creating music. He loved melody. He loved uh, designing the arrangement of the song, and we worked hard on making it the best that we could. And it certainly proved positive.
And hello, that, you know, we've talked about three songs. We talked about You Need a Dollar, The Man, Wake Me Up. And, but I have to ask about your influences because you love soul. I know you love jazz. And there are multiple artists from the past that are still present and very present today. And if you were to pick maybe three, four artists of all time that you would love to sing them to sing with you in a concert, which ones would you pick?
I would pick Joni Mitchell, Stevie Wonder, Quincy Jones. Those would be the three that I really, really would love to work with.
Yeah, Quincy is a mastermind, and
Yes, absolutely.
what a great you know he was a renaissance man in terms of his creative capacity.
And his business capacity. You know, he was one of the few who was able to have a great control over his publishing, his masters, um, and his business career.
Hello, you've also been an activist for many social causes, and I know how much philanthropy moves your heart. And in the conversations that we've had and the things that I've heard from you and your presentations, you always have something that defines you and is impact. And it's also serving and it's also having a positive influence in society. So, how do you connect the dots of music and activism and philanthropy? And why don't you share with us what are your current philanthropical efforts and the ones that you want to make more recognized around the world?
Yeah, you know, I feel like we all have an obligation to do our very best as citizens of the world to improve the conditions for humanity. And so when I recognized that my voice would have an impact, I started working with Malaria No More, which is an organization that raises funds to eradicate malaria from the world, to help offer medicines for the youngest, most vulnerable in populations where malaria is an issue. In terms of activism, social justice is really important for me. You know, there are many social justice causes around the world. I focus on the ones in the United States around criminal justice reform and police reform. And then, you know, when it comes to trying to make a difference, philanthropy is one way, activism is one way, but also I recognize that there's this double bottom line within entrepreneurial endeavors where you can create companies that are pushing to do positive in society. And you might just do more than if you were an activist or a philanthropist because you've created a sustainable model to push this positivity. So I started a biotech company in order to raise the efficacy of the kinds of medicines we're using against viral infections, against cancer, and against immune disorder. And that to me is probably going to be my biggest legacy, being able to create new medicines that can transform our relationship to disease.
And Alo, I know that, for example, biotech, and when we shared a conversation at the Milken Institute in LA some months ago, you talked to me about how you wanted biotech to become accessible for multiple communities around the world. And I know you have a passion for technology, because obviously biotech has the technological component there. But I want to ask you about, how do you think, for example, AI is going to play a very significant role in that biotech effort? And if you feel that the best way that we can contribute is also to having some kind of regulation that enables biotech to be deployed, especially in the global south.
Yeah, AI is already having an impact on biotech. A lot of new medicines, drugs, and treatments are being analyzed and produced in silico, which means in the computer, using AI and machine learning. But one of the things that I think is most important is for government and regulatory officials to employ AI in their analysis of drugs that are being tested, so that we can, number one, reduce the impact of testing on animals. So we should be able to test our drugs in AI models of animals rather than actual animals. That's just one opportunity available. And the other is for regulatory officials to utilize AI to analyze history of research, so that each regulatory official that has to make a determination is not burdened by their lack of knowledge or by the plethora of information that they cannot comb through. We should be using the technology to help us, to aid us in analyzing so that we can make decisions faster. Because I know that practitioners, the medical professionals that are in the provider spaces, the hospitals, they are, in my opinion, burdened by technologies that are 10, 20 years old, because we are still waiting for the bleeding edge, the new technologies that work and are safe, to be approved by our regulatory bodies. I think that if we use AI to get advanced.
Alo, you're a businessman, and you're a businessman with a purpose. You're a musician with a purpose. You're a philanthropist with a purpose. So on the business side, you already described what you want to reach on the biotech industry, where you can do good and do well, both at the same time. But let me ask you, which are your guiding business principles? I mean, how do you feel there are 3 or 4 criteria that meet what you want a business to be?
Yeah, for me, it's about, number one is do no harm. Whatever you're doing in business should not contribute to ecological disaster or demise, should not contribute to humanitarian issues, and should not harm society. So it shouldn't create new issues. Like, let's say if I wanted to create a social media app, I would want to be sure that the social media app is not contributing to what our Surgeon General calls mental health crisis, right? He's calling social media an, a type of phenomena that requires a warning. I wouldn't want to create something like that. So that would be paramount. Do no harm. Number two, you have to be sure that you are not just making a profit, but you're also improving lives. Now, there are a lot of companies that are not necessarily improving lives in a material way. It may be a slight emotional boost, a dopamine hit, like you're selling a little trinket that makes a kid feel great. But I think better than that is to sell something that is boosting your bottom line, but also improving the livelihood of the consumer, right? I think the best example would probably be, a farmer that's selling fresh organic produce. You're improving the nutritional health of the consumer, and you're improving your bottom line. So do no harm. Improve the livelihoods of the consumer, and I think third is to be progressive. As in humanity, we are always looking for what is going to make life more convenient, and I think we can be progressive in making products that make life more convenient, and using our best science, our best reasoning, and our best analysis to offer new conveniences that are, again, not going to harm and that will improve the livelihoods. So be progressive. Don't be redundant.
I love those principles, man. I mean, I think they hit the nail. And let's go back to music, because I know we're running out of time, and I want to also be able to talk about those music principles, because I know you're continuously exploring rhythms, you're exploring lyrics, but you also, like, your songs are related to different landscapes, and you can see that in your videos. So what's next, Elo? What's coming soon?
Wow. I have just finished working on an album that is songs inspired by nonprofit organizations and positive social missions. One in particular, a song called Breakthrough, is named after a nonprofit organization called Breakthrough that helps reduce the recidivism of people who leave prison, giving them jobs, education, and housing so that they do not go back to prison. This song serves as an anthem for this organization and organizations like it, so that people can recognize that, first of all, returning citizens deserve dignity. They are human beings, but also so that my audience can recognize, oh, I can get involved. I can donate to these organizations. I can start an organization like this. Another song on the album is called One Good Thing, and this was inspired by a story that I heard in conversation with Bono from U2. He told me that when he met Harry Belafonte told him a story about Martin Luther King urging him to find one good thing about Bobby Kennedy so that they could become allies in the fight for civil rights. And so when Harry Belafonte, who was also my mentor, befriended Bobby Kennedy, they were able to develop this relationship that pushed civil rights forward and made it possible for me to even speak to you today, to have this opportunity to be a global recording artist, to be a biotech founder, to be a philanthropist. And it was that message of find one good thing. we always should be working hard to find one good thing.
And can we have at least a 30-second preview of one of those songs, the one that you can choose?
Yes. So for the idea behind Breakthrough is, don't tell me you ain't never made no mistakes. I've been known for bending the rules until they break. I've done things that I can't take back. I'm barreling on a one-way track. When it feels like everything's breaking down, well, it's time for a breakthrough.
Wow.
That's Breakthrough.
Man, that's amazing. And hello, my last question. You mentioned three of my heroes. You mentioned Harry Belafonte. You mentioned Stevie Wonder. You mentioned Quincy Jones. And those three super figures decided in the 80s to call Lionel Richie, and that's how they created We Are the World. I don't know if you have seen the documentary about, but those four guys, man, made it possible to call all the greatest musicians of the US to send a message for Africa at the time. If you were to continue that legacy of Harry Belafonte, Quincy, Stevie Wonder, and also Lionel Richie, what would be a cause that you would love to call other artists today to embrace?
Well, I think the most important cause that I can think of right now would be mentorship. I feel like in today's society, we have a lot of division. And in order to bridge that, I want experienced individuals to team up with young individuals who need experience and start sharing, transferring knowledge, transferring understanding, and transferring that experience so that we can have the next generation of leaders, of thinkers, of academicians who are prepared. I feel like that's one of the biggest things that I learned from Harry Belafonte in the last few years of his life was that transfer of knowledge. I think mentorship is huge. So I've been working with an organization called Big Brothers, Big Sisters of America. I've also written a song for them, and that's on my album as well. I feel mentorship is really big.
When is the album out?
The album is out in February 2025.
Okay. So, man, we're gonna promote it, listen to it. And hello, as always, it's a pleasure talking to you. My admiration, my friendship, and looking forward to have you in Colombia, where we're close to Panama, and maybe we can start dreaming of an Aloe Blacc concert in Colombia and Panama pretty soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.